Start now. Good afternoon or good evening, viewers, and our panel. I welcome you to our Women Honoring Women's Month, and my name is Thelma McField. Most persons just call me Tracy, and I will be facilitating our discussion today. So this year, the theme is Give to Gain, which invites us to reflect on the ways women have had to give up, give back, or give extra in order to gain opportunities, whether in the workplace, in their communities, or in their personal lives. It also challenges us to consider the barriers that have existed and how we can work together to remove or reduce them for the next generation. Today, we are fortunate to have some inspiring women with us who will be sharing their experiences, insights, and ideas. Our goal is not only to celebrate the progress that has been made, but also to explore practical ways to create a more equitable and empowering environment for women moving forward. So I encourage everyone to share openly, listen actively, and engage in the conversation, as your perspectives are invaluable in shaping the insights we take from today's discussion. So to kick off today, I'm going to introduce our panelists. They are some beautiful gems, I'm going to call them. And I will start first with Miss Andrea Baldermans. Welcome. And she's the CEO of Vanguard Risk Solutions. So just to give a bit of background about her, who she is. So Miss Andrea holds a Bachelor of Science in Anthropology and a Master of Business Administration, and brings over 15 years of experience from her time at Balderrama's Insurance Services Limited, her family's business. Andrea currently serves as CEO of Vanguard Risk Solutions and has demonstrated a deep commitment to community service through her active involvement with the Rotary Club of Grand Cayman Sunrise, including serving as president for the 2023-2024 period and to contributing at the district level. So welcome, Ms. Balderrama. Thanks. Our next person that I'm going to be introducing is Ms. Suzanne. Ms. Suzanne Bauer. She is an attorney at law and civil servant of over 25 years. Ms. Suzanne is a past board director of the credit union, though best known as an attorney at law of over 25 years. She has worn many professional hats in her career and continues to reinvent herself. She has held various leadership roles in the Cayman Islands government, including Director of the Constitutional Review Secretariat, Deputy Supervisor of Elections, Court Administrator, and Chief Officer of the Law Courts and Acting Magistrate in the Law Courts. Most recently, Ms. Suzanne launched Bothwell Law, a boutique law practice in Grand Cayman to service the legal needs of the local community. Welcome, Ms. Suzanne. Thank you. Our next panelist is Ms. Wendy Parchment, and she is joining us virtually. She's not here, but she's online. Hi, Ms. Wendy. Hope you're well.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Thank you. So Ms. Wendy is superintendent of RCIPS. As the highest ranking female officer in the RCIPS, Superintendent Parchment leads the criminal justice portfolio. With dedication and distinction, her leadership has helped advance key criminal justice initiatives and strengthen safety within our community. That is so important. Thank you for that. She's also the visionary behind the Women in Police Network, an initiative that empowers and supports women within the service. Our next panelist, Ms. Leanne Tibbetts. Welcome, Ms. Leanne. All right, so Ms. Leanne, pilot for Cayman Airways, podcast host, Miss World Cayman 2022, 2023, 2024.
Yeah, 2022 to 2024.
Oh, beautiful. As one of the few female Caymanian pilots for Cayman Airways, Leanne has built a career defined by courage, discipline and service. She is also a retired officer of the Cayman Islands Cadet Corps and one of the first recruits of the Cayman Islands Coast Guard, continuing to break barriers in traditional, unprecedented spaces. In her role as a talent development coordinator, Leanne is passionate about empowering young people as they transition into meaningful careers. She is also the host of Proverbs 31 show, where she encourages women to lead with authenticity, faith, and purpose. Our next panelist, Ms. Tina Ebanks, Deputy Chief Fire Officer. Welcome, Ms. Tina. Ms. Tina joined the fire service in 2002, becoming Cayman's first certified female fighter over more than 2 decades of service. She worked in several areas of the department, including domestic firefighting, fire prevention, inspections, investigations, and administrative leadership. And our final panelist, Ms. Melissa Adderley, thank you. Founder, Women's Haven, the first female Caribbean-owned organic female care brand. Amazing. She is a CEO, wife, and homeschool mom of 4. Melissa is a multi-award-winning Caymanian entrepreneur whose brand is available in over 15 markets. Being named Entrepreneur of the Year 2025 by the Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce, a 2025 National Heroes Day nominee under the theme Icons of Business and Innovator of Impact, and a Caribbean and African Woman of Impact, CAWI 2026 honor. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you all for joining us today and our viewers. And just to give a bit of housekeeping for the viewers online, we want to have this meeting engaged with everyone. So you're welcome to send in messages, questions in the chat. That is going to be monitored and we will respond. All right. So without any further ado, I'm just going to throw a question out. Anyone? What does give to gain mean to you personally? Anyone?
I think that kind of
Can
means.
go ahead. Go ahead, Leanne, go ahead.
Oh, okay, Miss Wendy, thank you. So I think what comes to mind is like you can't really like receive with like a closed fist. Like you have to like release something. Like that's my immediate thought. I'll pass it to Miss Wendy.
All right, Miss Wendy, your turn.
My interpretation to give to gain meant that I had to give up myself and give up my children, give up my identity to what I wanted to do in life so that I could serve the greater good. And the greater good was the people of the Cayman Islands. So I gave that up to gain back who I really want to be. And that was a servant for the public. And that I have come to show the world that the Cayman Islands residents, the people of the Cayman Islands, meant so much to me that I was willing to put aside the life of raising my children and what other people would say, go out there and have a life for myself. I gave that all up because I wanted to be a servant to the people of the Cayman Islands.
That is amazing. Thank you for that. Yeah, and I think a lot of us women here today at some point, we have done that. Pretty much, we have made sacrifices in order to gain where we are, what we're doing. All right, so Miss Andrea, yes, we're gonna turn it out to you. So you balanced leadership in business with strong community involvement. How have these experiences shaped your approach to leadership?
Well, my community involvement really stems from my parents. Both my parents were involved in Rotary heavily. My dad has been in Rotary since the 60s. My mom was actually in Interwheel, which was the wives' club to Rotary men at the time. And so I grew up in an environment where everyone I knew was a Rotarian as such, and this network, and they all stand by an ethical code. It is basically service above self. And I think for me, it was, how do I translate this over to my job? How do I hold the highest ethical standards and still be able to give back? So that really, I guess, gave me the tools that I needed to really push forward and what I stand for and how I do my leadership in the company. And, one of the things that I think it really pushed forward for me was my staff, their success is my success. So it's kind of the same way, in terms of community service, we take care of the community, we fix the park, we clean the environment, we do all these things for the betterment of our community. And the same translates for business. I want to be able to provide my staff with the best care, with, any kind of tool they need for success. And at the end of the day, they're going to turn around and make sure that the company that we call a home and a community is successful as well.
Yes, that is so true. Yeah, that is awesome. Thank you for sharing. Anyone want to respond or? Oh, good. Thank you. All right, Miss Tina. Just going to run things out. So Miss Tina, as a Cayman's first certified female fighter, what inspired you to enter a field where women were largely unrepresented at the time?
Okay, well, I grew up in a firefighter's environment because my grandfather was a captain with the Miami-Dade Fire Department. And for me, I was looking at challenge because I worked previously as a custom officer, but I felt it was going to take me forever to get to the top. I decided, I think the fire service is where I want to be. I want to be a female that makes change. And I applied to the fire service about 5 or 6 times. We don't hire women, we don't hire women, we don't hire women, we don't hire women. And the last time I applied, I said, let me stop these people because I need a job. I saw this woman on the fire truck, so obviously they're hiring women. And I kept applying, kept calling. And they say, yeah, we do have a female, but she's not a fire officer. She's a telecommunicator. We'll get back to you. So I called until finally they said, you know what? You got the job. I just stop calling. That was like the 6th time. So, but I really wanted to do it because I saw my grandfather going out. And we were living in the States at my younger age. And it was just something that, and then I had worked with Miss Melba Nixon, past Chief Fire Officer, rest in peace, Mr. Kirkland Nixon's wife in insurance. And I said to her, I said, Miss Melba, I want to join the fire service. She said, oh, you want a job in the office? I said, no, ma'am. I said, oh, yeah, firefighter. And I talked to Kirk, whatever, but it worked out that he would be willing to hire me in the office at that time. And I said, no, I'll wait a little bit. I don't want to do that. And then a few years later, they accepted me in 2002. So I joined. But it was great.
So I think that alone just says a lot because you were so focused and determined. You weren't giving up. And I mean, that tells us as women that when we want something, we shouldn't take no sometimes. We
Yeah.
need to break barriers and go for it.
Tenacious.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Be tenacious about it. So I love that. Thank you. Miss Leanne. Leanne, apologies. Thank you. As one of the few Caymanian women in aviation, what motivated you to pursue a path where representation, again, was limited?
I think it's quite similar to Miss Tina's story, where I grew up watching my dad in aviation. He wasn't a pilot, but probably from the time he was 18, he started working in aviation. So it was very much so my environment. So as a little kid, I remember playing with, they have the little math cards that have like 2 + 2 and all them things on it. I used to pretend to be a ticket agent. So I used to flip my toy box upside down and hand out the little math cards to my teddy bears. So I always saw myself in that environment. But I didn't know, like, at the time, there was a lot I wanted to do, and I'll be honest, I don't think any of them were the typical jobs that Caymanians go into. But I wanted to, even I looked at fire service, I looked at the military, like that's just where I thrived. At the time I was a cadet. And when I was 15, I said, you know what? I'm gonna be a pilot. And the funny thing is when I said it, like the women were like, but you're a girl. And then my dad, he was like, go for it. Go for it. So like my dad was like one of my biggest supporters, but it really was the environment. And again, at the time I was very hard-headed. So the minute somebody tells me I can't do something, it's like, watch me.
Yeah.
So I did it anyways.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question, because I was going to say, how did you feel? Was it fearful? But then you're like, you answered it because you said, they said no. That's not me. So you answered it. Nice. Miss Felicia. Yes. So you've built Women's Haven from the ground up. And I know some of our viewers, and maybe even some persons in the room may not know what that is all about. So I'm going to ask if you could just elaborate a bit about it and expound, like, what did you have to give up or navigate in those early stages to build something sustainable? You mind sharing?
Sure, no problem at all. So Women's Haven, as you mentioned in my introduction, is the first female Caribbean organic feminine care product line of its kind. We manufacture our own organic sanitary napkins, liners, feminine wash, deodorants, wipes, and all that kind of thing. Maybe wondering where they're made, but they're manufactured in China. Yes, they can't be done here. Unfortunately, would love to. But not yet, or maybe one day. But they are manufactured in China. They are FDA approved. They do have Intratec approved, SGS approved, and all the international certifications and stuff like that. So that's in a nutshell. I'm sure we get on later in throughout the conversation more about Women's Haven. But what I had to give up in order to build a brand of that scale, I would feel, is making the space to understand about uncertainty, in the sense that not everybody going to believe in your vision when you first come up with it. Because when people hear me say, oh, you have Women's Haven, you want to go across the Caribbean, you're like, who you think you is? Like, where you think you're going? Like, but you want to go around the Caribbean, or, that kind of way. So giving up that external need for external validation was one of the biggest things that I was faced with to build a brand at this scale. I mean, yeah, I went through long nights, financial risks, everything that comes with owning a business, but worrying about what people have to say about me or the business or my idea or my vision, I had to give up the need for that external validation. So that was the biggest thing for me.
Yeah. And I bet a bit scary, but you went through.
Oh yes, I can. It was a scary experience, yes, because I had no investors. I have no help financially. It's just me and my husband. Took a big risk. I said to myself and everybody who was asking me about it, I have 2 daughters and 2 sons, and I said, well, I can get these pods, and if they don't sell, I got pods for the rest of my life. I can feed my daughters. That's a win-win, right? I'll be just a pod girl. I'll go donate it or something. But that was literally the rationale we said to ourselves in our house, that if this don't work, we're gonna have pods for the rest of our life.
Oh,
It was a good
Yeah. Thank you for that, Sharon. Miss Suzanne? So I know you now branched and done your own business, so maybe you could tell us a bit about that. Along with you've held a wide range of leadership roles across the legal and public sectors. So how has reinvention shaped your career and then the path that you now decide to revamp and evolve to your own business?
But I think my husband's a marine biologist. And when I was thinking of these questions, I remember I said, if a fish stops swimming, they will die because the oxygen that they need cannot pass through the gills. And I think that human beings are very similar. It's you adapt or die. You can't stay in one static spot. And I also thought about someone like my grandmother. She died at 95 years old last year. But when I really thought about her, she was born in the age in the Caribbean where there was no electricity, but she died in an era of AI. And so when I thought about her life in the 20th century, she had to constantly adapt and she had to constantly reinvent herself and to learn in order to not just survive, but to thrive, right? So in terms of my journey of reinvention, that's how I looked at my 25 years in the civil service. I've only ever really held like 3 jobs, like 3 separate titles in 25 years. But it's what I made of each of those roles within each role, and then my decision to pivot and to grow in a different way. And so, reinvention for me is about change. It's about have a resilient type of mindset, which I think I've heard from everybody here today. It's about knowing that you have to pivot and when to pivot and to be brave.
Yes.
Yeah, which I think, again, is what everybody here has had to step forward in their own truth and their own self and, make decisions for their own betterment. Yeah.
That is so true. Yes, thank you. Miss Wendy, in your journey to becoming the highest ranking female officer in the RCIPS, what were some of the defining moments that shaped your leadership?
I joined RCIPS the 11th of August, 1986. I was surrounded by men because it's a dominated career path where men was always in charge. And I had some real good colleagues, and then I had a female sergeant. She was, in my opinion, one of the best sergeants you could ever come across. She was truly a trailblazer. She understood the work. But the attitude and the behavior to the general public, but particularly so the way she treated victims and women victims, that really got under my skin. And I said, I want to be able to take the good from what she was given in terms of her work. And I could mold that into being the best sergeant that I could be. But I wanted to treat people so different. So I had to think about my moral compass and my values that I came to the organization with. And that came from home. That came from my grandparents, my surroundings, my environment. I took that to work with me. So I took the best of what she had to offer, and then I molded that into being a better person. So that is what really defined my leadership. I can see what somebody else has done. I can take the best part of that, add that to the good that I have, and be better with it. So that's what determined my journey and paved the way to where I am today.
Nice. So what I've heard basically from the panelists, most of you is either you had great support, you had someone that's cheerleading you on, encouraging you, or someone that is a role model that helps you define where you are today. So I think that is important. Yeah, that's good stuff. Just gonna throw a question on the floor. Anyone can answer, then I'll go back around the room again. Okay. So how can an organization better support women in leadership and growth?
Can I go?
Sure thing. Yes, ma'am. Please.
I'm gonna take from where I'm at. Remember I said I joined in 1986. Similarly to Tina, Tina came along in 2002. I joined in 1986. This was an era where the police department only had about 25 to 27 women at that time. Needless to say, you were either stuck behind the desk writing in the diary, or you were placed in the radio room to answer the calls or any 911 incidents. Today, we have grown that we have over 100 females and about 275, maybe 300 males. Now, the reason I say that is this part. Organizations, regardless of where they are, whether it's law enforcement or another business, must understand that women have evolved. We've come out the kitchen. We can still have babies. We can still be in the kitchen, but we deserve a place at the table.
Amen. Yes.
They must allow us to be seen as individuals, not defined by our gender. Because before us today, we have an attorney, we have an entrepreneur, we have another lady who's the chief executive officer of her family business, and it's continuing to grow. We have a young female Caymanian that isn't just a pilot. She worked at the Coast Guard. She did cadets. She's a former Miss Cayman world or title of such. We have a fire officer who is an investigating lead. So what people have to understand is that no longer are women just growing up playing with dollar babies and sewing something and then that's it. It doesn't end there. We have minds, and our minds must be put to use. And people need to not also paint us with the brush that, oh, she's always angry. Oh, she got something to say. Always got to say something. Yeah, we always got to say something because we're smart, people. We're smart. Allow us to have a voice is what I'm trying to say. Because we're educated, we're smart, we're great leaders. We think well in crisis situations, all right? So I believe that we should be given equal opportunity regardless of our gender.
Thank you.
I would just add to her.
Yeah.
It's don't underestimate us.
Yeah.
We are capable of far more than what I think men, unfortunately, give us credit for. We are the birthers of child. Like we go through an incredible amount of pain giving birth, and I'm pretty sure it's one of the highest pain thresholds for human beings.
Most of heart attack.
Yeah, next to heart, you know what I mean? So don't underestimate a woman's strength, a woman's resilience, and a woman's fight. We have a lot of fight in us.
I concur with my colleagues here because I noticed that when Mandy said, we have a voice, they're doing a lot of research about women in boardroom. And one of the things that they're finding is that if a woman speaks the same amount of time as a man, the men in the room believe that she's talking too much, right? So even though we have broken barriers, there are still those intangible barriers that are there for us. And I believe that it is up to us as women to keep on pressing the issue, keep on breaking the barriers. If we have to force them to listen to us, then we create an environment that they will listen to us. The other thing I would add is about giving people opportunities to grow. Women are workhorses.
Yes.
We are the ones who will see things done to the nth degree. Yet, in a way, our abilities are not recognized equally as men in the workplace. And I'll tell you why part of that is, again, through research. They're actually showing that if a job opportunity comes up, if a man thinks he can do 20% of that job, he will apply for the role. A woman, conversely, if she believes she can only do 80% of that job, she still doesn't think that we are good enough to apply for that role. So we also have to think about what is our value, what we bring to the table, and to keep fair in perspective. Fair is just about fair. It is not rational. So if you could do 20% of the job, go for the role, because your male peers are going for it, right? So, we have to kind of remove our own barriers and our own psychological barriers and push through that fear. Yeah.
Only one thing I want to add, and this might be a little controversial, but as a woman who finally climbs the ladder and makes it, don't prevent the other woman from coming up.
Agree.
I just had to bring that up because there's many times you'll get there, you're good, and you're not helping nobody else. And a lot of my biggest supporters, like I said, were the men. They were like, you can do it, keep pushing. Even when I was struggling, as a pilot, it was really a fellow male pilot who came and helped me, So when you get to that level, help that other young woman who's coming up. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
The men doing it for each other.
Yeah, exactly. Why aren't we? The boys, yeah.
So why would you think women on the whole then would not want to, and I mean, we see it as evident, but what would you say to maybe to our viewers or persons in this room for women to support one another, help one another? And as Ms. Felicia said, even with her parents, she said she's going to give them out. To people, it might be embarrassing because in the beginning, when she first started and she was having a conversation with her friends, peers, and she said, are we itching? Yeah. Those are so sensitive and delicate that we're so embarrassed to discuss those things. But why is it that we don't support one another? I mean, I'm just throwing it on the floor. What do you think the root cause could be? How can we change that? Break that barrier as well, because that is part of a male dominance. Now we're women, but yeah, we're not.
I don't think it's one answer. I'm sometimes.
Question.
I do think part of it is sometimes that women who've had to break the glass ceiling, sometimes when they reach their position, they might perceive that those of us coming behind them have had an easier time. And there is some level of well, you didn't have to go through what I had to go through, so you need to figure out how to climb on your own. And then secondly, don't underestimate the fact that women in the workplace is a very new concept. Okay, men have been in the workplace for hundreds of years. Okay, that's very serious.
Yes.
True. So culturally, we are babies in the game.
Yes.
Okay. So we are still learning the ropes. We're still figuring things out.
Yeah.
And we have to kind of keep on working at it. Because even though we might perceive that there's equality in the workplace, there's a lot of things that are still not equal.
Yeah, right.
But even our own behavior and how we relate to each other, it may seem almost counterproductive and irrational, but we have not been here in these environments for a long time. Yeah, so we have to keep on breaking barriers, keep on trying to do the right thing, and understanding that we have to be mentors. We have to see talent and help to grow talent. That's part of our talking about giving to gain.
Yes.
What we have received, and we must then give to others so that they may gain also. Yeah.
I wanted to just add to that. I think, my feminine health perspective. For me, it boils down a lot to our hormones, both from a male and a female perspective. women go through 4 different cycles. Every single month, no one day a woman is exactly the same. 1 week to another week, we're the same, which kind of ties into sometimes we may get a little miserable with each other, may not help each other, feel a way this week when this happened. I may be on my luteal phase, I may be on my menstrual phase. I just don't feel that good right now. And a lot of times I feel us as women, we are not aware of our own bodies.
Yeah.
Like, what cycle are you on right now? What phase are you on? And most will have to stop and think all they know is menstrual phase.
Yeah.
They don't know that there's other phases that you actually go through that affect you. Like, literally, you're going to be miserable. You're going to start crying for no reason. You ever look at something and start crying and be like, what are you crying for?
You get your period.
Your period. Yeah, and if you check your period, so tough.
In the HR world, they are now starting to do a lot of research about women and menopause in the workplace. And in some countries, they're starting to introduce menopause policies.
Yes.
Because that's a serious hormonal change in women's life change. And it can affect your memory.
Yeah.
It creates fatigue.
Yeah.
You know, and these are things why all of a sudden you had an amazing employee who can't even come to work or who's missing. You know, so as I said, we are new in the workplace.
Yeah.
Everybody's still trying to figure things out.
Yeah. And men, on top of this hormonal cycle, sorry, I never wanted to go, but men, they change every 24 hours. Just to put that out there. That's their hormonal cycle. By scientifically, it's 24 hours.
So they reset by midnight.
Yeah, every day they reset. That's why they don't feel like nothing bothers them. Or like, you know, one topic and you don't forget about it.
That's true.
Because we on a different type of cycle than they are. And once we understand that as women and men, I think it would help a lot more in the workforce, in the classroom, everywhere in the household, everything. You would respect each other a little bit. Men would become more understanding and not calling us miserable and
Yeah, and I also think before we just leave, I know we need to move on. I also believe that employers, particularly at least in the Caribbean, I believe, I think there needs to be an acknowledgement that women are also the primary caregivers, and in many cases, the only caregivers of children. And now we are seeing elderly parents.
Yeah.
So what does that mean for that person as an employee in the workplace? So I think these are all kind of subjects on the table that employers will have to grapple with, else they will find people exiting, otherwise good talent exiting the workplace before their time, you know?
And just to Ms. Bothwell's point as well, and going back to the original conversation with what the organizations can do, very simple on the topic of a woman being on her menstrual cycle, you know. Me today, my boss allowed me to work from home because I do have cramps that bad, whereas in previous environments, I was called some very not so nice words because I had to call in sick to bring a doctor's note.
Right?
So I would get bad. At one point, I remember flying and my hand is shaking, and the captain had to legit wait until I could get some like ibuprofen in my system for me to fly back because I was nauseous. I'm shaking, like I just can't function.
You think how many workplaces have pump rooms? Right? We're talking about giving, women have to have babies, we need to increase the population, but we're in the workplace. So when you go, when I first started working, our staff that had a baby had to go to the toilet to pump her milk. And when I saw that as a young professional, I was like, that's not good.
It's mortifying.
So I said to her, I had an office, I said, whenever you need to pump, come to my office and I will just leave and you can do that via me. You know, and then also to the concept of pressures. Many countries have pressures. The government in the government building was supposed to have a crash. They don't have it. You know, at 3:00, there's a mass exodus of women in this country to pick up children from schools. And it takes a whole hour. Right? So, you know, we have to decide what we want as a country. Can't have your cake and eat it.
I agree. Just to add and give a shout out to my chief, Randy Rankin. He has been excellent with the women of the service since he's become chief. I mean, he'll look at me, he said, TT, you're not good today. let's go for a drive.
Okay, that's what I love.
And he'll say, cry if you need to cry, what's going on, what is it, take it easy. You know, so he has been really good. I mean, I lost my mom last year. And he said, oh, you're so strong. I don't see you crying and this and that. And then it hit me one day. He said, let's go. And we drove around for like 3 hours.
Wow.
He heard me out. He said, Tina, cry. Don't hold it in. You're too strong, you know?
Yeah.
So he is that boss.
Nice.
If I need to go into his office and close the door and vent, he is that boss. And to say the least of the time that I've been working there, him and Mr. Grant has been that type of boss.
It's good to hear that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thanks,
He's a really
ladies.
good chief.
Thank you, ladies, for sharing. I appreciate that. I'm gonna just move on now. So, next segment. So, Miss Andrea, this is your field, if you don't mind. So you built and led organizations at very high level. So looking back, what do you feel you had to give extra or even give up? I know you did mention a little bit, but to reach those leadership positions that perhaps your male counterparts. And you know how you manage that, because you mentioned you're a mom as well.
Yes.
Juggling all of those many hats.
It's a lot. I'll do it in 2 parts. I'll tell you kind of what I had to give extra and then what I really have to give up. So for me, giving extra in an insurance environment, mainly men focused, I always go back to this example that my dad gave me. My dad has been in insurance for donkey's years, and he's a salesman. He's very good at what he does. He was always like, oh yeah, just, you can go to the bar and sit down and sell some insurance to whoever. And I was like, hi friend, that doesn't work the same way for a woman, and worse, a young woman in a bar. And I'm surrounded by men that want insurance, and I'm like, they're not looking at me for insurance. Let's be clear on that part. So I had to really look at how I could change the narrative, change the way I was able to approach people from what I needed to get from them. And so for me, it's really changing your approach. I wouldn't say it's giving extra, but I mean, I guess it is, right? You're giving the extra step to have to change the narrative and change the approach that you put forward. And in terms of giving up, I'm a mom. It is incredibly hard to balance a work life now. I mean, as CEO, prior to this, I was in my family's business. I could take my baby to work. I took her there from birth, basically, and I had her in a little pram on the side. And, she could go into my mom's office and take naps under her desk. Now it's very different. And, it's a very different environment. It's not my direct family.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm trying to encourage a family kind of, environment in there, but it's not my direct family. And so it is a different scope for me, and balancing that and balancing the mom guilt.
Yeah.
I don't think that's talked about enough, is the mom guilt. You leave your baby I left her with my parents tonight, bless them. They love grandparent duty, but it is hard. She's at that age where she still wants your attention. She still wants your comfort. But when you're knee deep in a computer or a file that you need to get done, or work that you absolutely have a deadline for, you have to give it that time up. And it's hard to explain to kids, hey, look, this is something that I really have to do, because then they feel bad about it. But it's, trying to find a way to balance it and make it up to them, I guess, in a way. So yeah, those are my give ups and give extras.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. Okay, Miss Wendy, I'm trying to set you. All right, so the theme, and I think you spoke of this already, so I'm going to give through initiatives like the Women in Police Network, and I think you've kind of mentioned a lot about it, but I just want you to elaborate a bit more. How do you see your role in creating space for other women to rise? I know you said you wanted change when you started, and it was 25 women at that time, and your values that you brought from home. But if you could elaborate now, the changes, because you've to what it is now, how would that create that space for women to rise? What would that look like?
The primary reason that the Women in Police Network has been developed is to give them that space, that safe psychological space where they can be themselves, where they can be in an environment where they're comfortable. So that's one of the things, but it's also about learning and developing the females for the future of tomorrow. It's to allow them to go through their menopause stages, to talk about that. What effects does that have on an individual? And not to prolong the conversation on that. But while I was going through it, I had no knowledge that I was going through it because I didn't know what the signs were. I'm one of them old-fashioned people. You just had the stuff and you go about it. But your attitude change. I didn't break out in cold sweats. I didn't have nightmares. I didn't have, all these things that I heard my friends talking about. My hair, I didn't lose hair. It wasn't anything like that. I could not recognize it. You know when I recognized it? When it was completely over. And someone said to me, your issues where you were always on edge and always, kind of like being miserable all the time. I said, I wasn't miserable. I wasn't miserable. What do you mean I was miserable?
You don't see
and,
it.
and then you realize you're becoming defensive for no reason.
Yeah.
All those things, right?
Yeah.
Breastfeeding. Same thing. We don't have a private room for women today. I think that we are so advanced in our companies, in our societies. I think that we should have breastfeeding rooms for mothers. I think mothers should be given different time schedules when she's coming back to work. Now I know government has introduced the 6 months of maternity leave. My daughter's presently on that. And I look back at it and I'm thinking when I was breastfeeding her, I had 3 months off work and I had to go back and she stopped breastfeeding. But now she can breastfeed and then go back to work after 6 months. So I believe that when mothers even going back to work, they should be able to work from home. What's wrong with today with the women staying home and working virtually? It is what we have advanced to in society. All over the world, people are working virtually. We have people who work with certain companies, I won't name who, in the Cayman Islands, but they're working elsewhere. So what's wrong with our mothers, our women who are mummies, new mummies or mummies for, a couple of other kids? That's fine. Why can't she stay home and provide that? So to get back to the Women in Police Network, that's what this is all about. This is about coming together with our ideas and trying to make tomorrow better for our new staff that will be employed by us. And having that space where they're free to be themselves and to learn, to grow, to have equal opportunity within the workforce. So that's what that is generally about.
So I will thank you for sharing. So Miss Wendy, so from the time you joined to how the environment is now, would you say that it has changed or how are the male, I see you smiling. What do you think? Is it?
I don't want to be too political. Let me be very cautious and careful, but at the same time, be transparent
definitely.
and honest. I want to be transparent, honest, and very fair, as I always have been. I believe that there has been some improvement. You'll see more women coming in the organization. Where we could do better is promoting our women in other ranks. We have women in the firearm department. We have women in traffic. We have women, of course, in the front line. We have women in CID. So we're growing. We're seeing more women move into those areas. I still believe there's room for improvement. I believe in the near future, it will be there. We don't have it's a his world and a her world, basically. I think our colleagues, our male counterparts, I believe they have accepted us because there are just some areas that we're better at. For example, if we got to be responding to a domestic call, some men are really good at it, don't get me wrong, but then sometimes it's best for a female to go in because the victim is female, or maybe a lady has been raped by someone and it's best for her to go because she doesn't want to see a male. So those are the important areas that we are required in, and we do a real good job all around policing. I think women really hold the pillars up at the four corners. So for me, in the future, I see a brighter future for the women within the organization. I just want them to stay, but then we need to offer them better opportunities. You breastfeeding, you can come to work at a certain time, or you can go home to do your breast pumping, or you can stay at home and work, because there are so many things that we can have them do behind the scenes. So in all, the RCIPS, I think, is a great place to work. I wouldn't continue to be there for almost 40 years. This year is 40 years for me. I have had my struggles. I certainly have. But when they pushed, I pushed back. And that's truly how it has been for me. I don't say that in a derogatory manner. I say that sometimes when that door come crushing in on you, you don't push back. Sometimes you gotta kick that door down, girl. Kick it off the hinges. You gotta kick it off the hinges. You gotta remind them, I've lost many nights of rest, many weekends, not being home on public holidays, particularly Christmas, when my children were growing up. So I deserve to be here. And that's the important thing that we must remember. We deserve to be where we're at.
Yes, and I just want to say, I've known Wendy for a long time, and I'm so proud of her. And I really encourage you to continue doing what you're doing, because when I'm listening to what she's saying, it tells me that women are exiting the police force at different stages of their life and at critical stages of their life. So they're not even, the numbers are not staying there, and we're not getting the numbers up at the point of leadership, right? So we have less and less. I know a number of excellent colleagues that you work with you who left, and as a past prosecutor who worked in the domestic violence and who worked in all of these kind of cases. I was so sad. I'm like, these are the best police officers. Why are they feeling that they have to leave? And I spoke to some of them, and I have to say, I said that, you have to do what you have to do. But, Wendy is right. We have to kick doors down, and we don't ask for permission, and we don't let people tell us which box we fit in.
Yes. Correct.
Right? So and there comes a point in time in particular women's lives that we have to sit down and do some introspection.
That's the figure.
Right?
Yeah.
Sit down, because we give to everybody else. So giving to gain. How about giving to yourself?
Yeah.
Yes.
Give yourself the respect to sit down and invest in yourself and decide, where is it I believe I should be going?
Yes.
And then you map your path and you pivot, right? And don't be afraid to do it, because you will surprise yourself. Yeah.
And I will add to that, Miss Suzanne. It doesn't matter your age.
No, absolutely.
So let's be clear.
Yeah.
No.
Age is no barrier.
No.
Yeah.
When I was in law school, there was a lady who was 75 years old in law school with me.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So no age to this.
No,
And I do also want to shout out Miss Wendy because when I was in the Coast Guard, she had actually just started the network. And at the time, we were struggling with all types of things. There were 6 women, who had just been recruited. And I was one of, it was not all of us went out on like the vessels. And now you're on your cycle, you out on a boat and you need PPE.
Yeah.
Yes. These are not male problems because they're all men before. So, like when Miss Wendy came along and she was like, well, we actually doing this thing, like, I just vented. I just got everything off my chest. But it was like, it's what we spoke about. Like, she's in that position now. And now she's offering that hand to help you up.
Which is amazing. And I like that. She's an advocate now because she has faced it. So now she's realized and she's now helping other
Yes.
people. So, yeah.
Since I want to shout out Wendy, I'm going to shout out Wendy too.
I know, right?
Amen. Together.
Okay.
What else shout her?
Yeah, that's nice. So, Miss Leanne, this is your question now. So, what challenges did you face entering a male-dominated field? And I think you just kind of mentioned that. And how did you navigate them? Because, like you say, you needed to be on the boat. You got things that you want to do.
Yeah.
How did you navigate? Share that with the team.
I think I learned it very young as a cadet. So I think I entered the cadet corps when I was like 14 or something like that. So from then I learned discipline and resilience, which I think anybody can benefit from, period, So right off the bat, like how we identified in certain fields like women thrive, I just happened to be very well in that arena. And a lot of my peers in the cadet corps, the leaders were women at the time. So we were the sergeants, the staff sergeants, the warrant officers, and we thrived, but it was because we were sharp, we were quick, we can multitask, we can take on 50 billion things. Like we have to make sure everybody is where they are. Plus we managing this list, making sure the lunch ready in time. Like we were able to do that as women because that's kind of how you run a household, right? Like, you have to be able to do all these things. So because of thriving there, that transitioned into, but like I said, when I wanted to be a pilot, it wasn't well received by everyone. Went off to flight school, met my first flight instructor. He was sexist, and I didn't know because it's like when I explained it to other people, they were like, "That's not normal." But then for me, it's just going over my head because I've never done flight training before. How do I know if this is normal or not? Essentially, what happened was when it finally came down for me to do like there's like a test that you have to do. I realized I couldn't land the plane, so. Because he was still holding on to the controls every single landing we had done together. So I had a friend of mine, Shane Ennis, shout out to him. Again, it's always the other men who came in and helped. He took over my flight training and he took me from my private pilot license right up to commercial multi-engine. And he treated me like everybody else. He treated me like everybody else. If you're doing foolishness, you're doing foolishness. If you got it right, I may or may not give you some praises, but he treated me the same way how all the other students were being treated first, which made me into a better pilot, right? Because he didn't sugarcoat nothing. You had to be by the books, full stop. And it made me a real good pilot. Fast forward, I spoke about the stuff I experienced in the Coast Guard, but like with that, it was new for everybody. So nobody knew what they were doing. Like this organization just sprung up out of nowhere. We're all recruits, but because of all the training that I had gone through in the past, again, going back to the cadet corps, that discipline, resilience, the leadership, it came out naturally. Mm-hmm. And by the time we graduated, I was the one who was given the leadership award. So it's just really playing to your strengths and that resilience. And there, I'll be honest, there's certain situations where I could have did what Miss Wendy said, stick it out, kick down them doors, but it does get rough. It does get rough. And when you don't have anybody to bounce things off of, you don't have no advocate, it's just you against everybody, it becomes very hard to stay in those environments. I will not sugarcoat it and pretend like I did everything right. Because even some of my choices, I look back and I'm like, I could have just outlasted them. That's all it was. Just outlast them and you'll be okay.
But sometimes, if I may, through chair, but sometimes that is not the right answer.
Mm.
And I think we as women also have to be true to our own selves.
Mm.
You know, we have to think about what is best for us in the round. And there's more than one path to success, right? So, and because you don't know to what extent you would be destroyed,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
self-preservation is a real thing. And that's why I keep on talking about knowing when to pivot. You have to trust your instincts, trust yourself.
Yeah.
And not every disappointment is a misfortune. Sometimes by pivoting, you are actually taking the next step of your growth and your success.
Very much.
Right? So,
Very much.
Yeah, because even before I became a pilot as well, it had taken me 3 years because the airline wasn't hiring. But even when I did get on, had I gotten that fresh out of high school, I don't think I would have been able to manage it.
yeah.
But I was there in the right time, like you said. It's definitely something I would go back to.
So I'm going to continue with you, Ms. Susan, based on what you just said. So this is going to be your question. As someone who continues to evolve professionally, so what advice would you give to us? And you've been giving some great advice. So to women considering a new path, you spoke briefly about pivoting and, and to transition. What advice would you share with us?
It's taken me all of 25 years to figure it out, and I'm still learning. So I don't speak as some voice of authority, but I would say finding your confidence. As an attorney, I was always technically capable, where I thought that I perhaps needed growth and I wasn't aware of it was in terms of advocating for myself, figuring out how to pivot. I stayed perhaps too long in some positions because I knew my worth, but I was just like Liani said, I stuck it out. My thing was, well, if I just work harder and I just do this. And then one day, this is like about over 10 years ago, I said to myself, Suzanne, I had an epiphany. In some situations, there is nothing that you can do to make them want you.
Yes.
And it wasn't because I was working at a lower standard. I was covering everything.
Yeah.
And I was doing all of the work, but I was hitting a barrier in improving my position to reflect all of the things I did. And that is when I learned that I had to understand my value. I had to understand what I bring to the table.
Yeah.
Right? And the moment that I realized that, it was like a switch had gone off. And I was leaving the civil service. I was packing up my stuff. Everybody thought I was archiving because I archive every year. And I was packing up my stuff. I was ready to go and enter into private practice with my aunt, Adrienne Webb, and which we literally were trying to give for like 16 years. And in my brain, I was gone. I was exited. Yeah. And you know what? When that moment hit, I got a call asking me to consider my last job in the civil service, which I was not interested in. So you see, sometimes you don't know when you decide to figure things out, what opens up. Yeah. You don't know what you allow into the universe comes to you. Absolutely. Right? So I would say, what other nuggets I would say? Know when to pivot and trust your instincts. Know your worth and know what you want. Don't move before you have clarity on what you want. And thirdly, you grow what you feed. So if you invest in yourself and you feed yourself, then you will grow as a person. Yeah. And I'm not talking about pivoting in terms of necessarily changing your position. So people love their job. They want to be where they are. They love what they do, but you can't be still in it. You must always learn. You must always see how you can stretch yourself because every experience prepares you for whatever is to come your way in the next part of life.
I agree.
Yes.
I totally agree. And that's what I would always share with some of my coworkers. I used to share this with one of the young men that I was managing. I said, life is a journey. Think of it as a bicycle that you're riding and you're on your way to East End, but there are going to be some maybe delays, a flat tire, but it happens for a reason, and that you need to stop, evaluate your situation, and do you continue? And maybe it's not for you to continue that straight path. You need to make a detour to for a reason because something is saving you.
That's right.
So I share,
Growth is not linear.
No, it's not.
No,
Growth is not linear, and I think
No.
that's something a lot of women and men don't realize is that, you know, you want to get to a certain point in your life and you think, all right, if I do X, Y, and Z, I'm going to go straight there.
Yeah.
But you don't. There's so many things that come into play. And like you said, the universe has a funny way of putting you where you need to be when you need to be there.
Yeah.
And you don't realize it. And it's one of those kind of epiphany moments, like you said, of, oh, wait, okay, now I need to pivot.
Yeah.
Let me move in whatever direction it is
Sometimes
this universe
what you
is telling me.
want is not for you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, so that's like so you can know what you want. Because, you know, just because you're good at something doesn't mean that is for you.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I was at a crossroad. That's why I ended up opening my own practice. I was at a crossroad in terms of my broad, quote unquote, career. And I had a couple avenues that I could have taken, and I was capable in all of them, and I enjoyed all of them. But I said, you know, is that really you? You know, what is the kind of life I'm going to reveal? I'm turning 50 next year, right? And I was like, you're like a crossroad. What is it that I want? How do I see myself living? And then I realized that some of those options started to fall away. And I said, this is the path. Yes. It might not be as prestigious, it might not be as glamorous, but this is me. This is where I'm being true to myself. And you know, I've not had this early days yet, but I've not had any regret so far.
Thank you, Lana. Miss Tina, so this is your question. So you played a role in opening doors for other women in the profession. What does that responsibility mean to you? So just talk a little about that. And then she mentioned earlier that now her son is working there. So how do you balance that as well, knowing that your son is there and mom?
Well, before he got there, my brother joined a good lot of years. After me, he's not currently in the fire service now. And now my son, which he applied about 3 or 4 times, and I said to him, Eric, I don't want you there. I don't want you there. He said, but why? That's what I want to do. I said, I don't want you to work around me because I'm going to turn into Mama Bear. But then I'm going to be really hard with you. But for me, my pride in doing the work that I do within the service and then extending myself to the female. We just have 6 females operational. We've had 1 or 2 more that have come but have changed career paths. For me, I think most of the women I see, I'll go to the day when they come for their physical tryouts. I think a lot of women don't understand that we expect the exact same from them that we expect from the men, and they don't give it the push. I don't think we're getting the actual right people out. We did an uptake of women a couple of years ago. I was out there with them, explaining to them, like, if the guys need to do this, you need to do it too. You can't expect that they're gonna have to do it. There was a lot of things that I could not manage, but I had to keep practicing and practicing. Yes, they were willing to support me. They were willing to do it for me, but for me, I wanted to do it myself. So whatever it took for me to get there, I did it to get there. The women we have now are super women too. I want to give a shout out to one of the managers that works under me, Tiffany Ebanks. She joined just 2 years after me, and she was a firefighter for a few years, and then she wanted to venture into fire safety and investigations, which I was in the unit at the time for a few years, and I supported her throughout that time. And then we have Amelia Gillespie. She was a firefighter, domestic aviation, went into aviation. Now she's a pump engineer, so she handled one of the appliances that the guys handled. So that's like almost a $2 million piece of equipment, and she is the operator. I posted on my Facebook, woman power. She's there operating, commanding the guys. She's giving them the pressures that they need. She's giving them the water. She's driving the truck. She's getting them to the team.
Oh,
So for me, it's pride in just supporting them. We have a few more other women. Chanel in Grand Cayman, she's a domestic firefighter. Carly Tibbetts in Kimambra, she's a dual firefighter. She works both domestic and aviation. And then we have one new recruit, Ashley McLean. She is still in training, doing well. But for me, it's just the pride of working with these women. And these women will tell you, I am the hardest person, not in a bad way, but like I don't give them time to slack. I'll say to them, you slack, the guys will not respect you. They'll say, what are you doing here? So yeah, I said, listen, through the period cramps and everything else, we got to keep going. I said, we don't miss the truck. I said, there's been instances where my manager said, look, you don't miss the truck. I came back from a big incident one day, and I went to go take a shower, and they said, hey, don't take a shower. Every time you shower, we get a major incident. Don't take it. Oh, no. And I said, no, man. I said, I stink. I'm sticky. I need the shower. I get in the shower, the alarm goes off. And my boss said, anyhow, you missed that truck, you could get some serious trouble. All I could do was pop the shower curtain, run with it, jump in my protectives, jump in the truck, and dress in the back of the truck. And it's just dedication,
yeah.
And I had, being the only female, working with the guys, no female quarters at that time, so I used the male bathrooms, male bathrooms. Like,
Wow.
they respected me well.
Nice.
I never ever felt uncomfortable. There was no one that ever made me feel like threatened or anything. Like you're gonna trouble me or you're gonna walk in on me. I never felt that way.
That's good.
When I first joined, like they wanted to put me in the control room, and I went to Mr. Nixon. I said, Chief, I got a problem. He said, what is it? Because he said, and if you have a problem with these guys, come to me immediately. I said, I'm hearing that when I'm finished training, I'm going to the control room. He said, but why? Who told you that? Like, I'm the chief. I said, well, that's what they say. And like, I can't be on the front line because they fear me working with the men. I said, well, if that's what it's going to be, I'm going to leave today because I didn't come here for this. I want to fight fires. I want to go to accidents. I want to work on the front line. So he called the two section heads and he said, who told her? So Mr. Webster said, well, we were thinking like, it's better for her to probably be in a control room or on aviation because they don't stay overnight on the station. He said, well, why? Well, we don't think, she should be sleeping over on the station or overnighting. And Mr. Robinson, Carney Robinson, he was the senior divisional officer for domestic. He said, well, Chief, I said I want her because she's really smart, but I mean, and she helps me with my filing and this. So he said, listen, as long as I'm in the fire service, she will be a domestic firefighter. That's right.
Yeah.
He said, no one dictates where she goes. If you have a problem, Tina, come and see me.
What it tells you what box you're supposed to be in.
Right. And I mean, the guys I worked with on shift, they were excellent.
So then you would say that for maybe our viewers online that women thinking are considering to join the fire service, they need to prepare mentally because
Mentally and physically.
and physically,
Yeah.
especially physically, right? Because you have to do a lot of physical exams.
No, and I'm no joke. I did a training with them once.
Yeah.
And I'm no joke.
I
Right now, I'm in
yeah.
my prime.
So we need, do you get out to the schools like with career days?
Yeah,
and tell
we do a
them,
lot of
okay,
school visits constantly, not only during them times. We have schools coming to the station and we do school visits, we do campaigns for schools. But for me, it's not only the women that need to prepare because the men think like they'll see the shuttle run and say, no. The shuttle run is hard. It is hard
To train.
to train.
The
You need
whole
to train.
everything.
I said to them, go online, look this up, and just prepare. Before I joined, I had two brothers, and I said, well, I know they, let me talk to some of these guys from Eastern that are firefighters and find out what do you have to do. I would go by the station, show me what you gotta do, you gotta try out whatever, and they showed me, and I just continued. And my brothers would say, like, this Tina, leave me alone. I would say to mom, drop me at Frankstown Junction and let me start walking and jogging to East End. One evening, mom came down the road. She said, Jesus Christ, I thought you were dead. You don't get home. Yeah, you still walking. I said, I got spin split. I can't run anymore. But I said to her, go, I need to endure. I need to build up endurance.
So you were determined then to get there, which is good.
And I
that's
just
a good
say
encouragement
for
for
women,
all
they
ladies.
need to not give up. They need to push. They need to push. And like women in the service, I keep saying, if you got a problem, come and talk to me. If you're talking to your officers and you feel like, okay, they're not sympathetic enough, come and talk to me. Let me hear what you're saying and what you think about what they're saying. And then sometimes, yeah, maybe they may be right, but then sometimes the guys are right, the officers are right. Like, you need to step it up. Yeah, I'm.
So you're like a mediator too,
Yeah.
between, which is a good thing. Good support there. Thank you for sharing. Ms. Melissa, so this is for you. And you shared earlier that you had you mentors.
Yes.
So could you just elaborate some more about your mentoring and support for your other entrepreneurs? And at what point did you realize your journey could help open doors for others?
I feel that as a founder, I know we were just talking, as I heard about the talking, I'm here thinking of my entrepreneurial founder perspective of everything that everyone's saying. I'm like, I remember when I went through this, I remember when I went through that, even my story. When you were saying, like, you just have to just keep going. It's like, when I first started, like, I never knew I was going to have, products, like, make my own products from Cayman. Like, no one really think of something like that from a Caribbean person. Like, nobody was there to teach me anything, and I'm just sitting there doing this, on my own. And it got to a point where throughout my journey, before I started having my own pads, I reached out to the brand. I was reselling another brand at the time, and I reached out to them, and I was like, would you consider working with me and collaborating on making a brand specifically for the Caribbean? And they were like, who is? I don't know you, on CNN, Forbes, Times. I don't know who I am. Caribbean girl, like who you is, trying to work with some big brand, that kind of way. And I was like, all right, no problem. And I didn't give up when they told me no, even though it was a far-fetched idea to even manufacture my own products, right? And when I finally was given the opportunity to reach out to manufacturers, and the manufacturers told me no, because I couldn't meet the MOQ because I didn't have hundreds of thousands of dollars. I was like, oh, well, all right. Again, I could have gave up and just be like, that's not a thing.
Yeah.
I didn't give up. I kept going until I kept relationship with the manufacturer till eventually one day they allowed me to go below the MOQ. And I was like, what? That's how I made the liners. I have 6 sizes of the pads now. I have over 20 different products. So like stories, his history from there. And having to endure all of that and go through all of that, it's, every founder, when you have someone come to you, not for your product or your service, but to hear your story as to how you got there, it makes you stop and think like, wow, like maybe like I have an impact on someone's life. They're not just coming to buy a product or see what I have going on. They actually want to hear my story because they feel it resonates with them, I make them feel like like someone that looks like them can actually accomplish
Yes.
something that's really far-fetched in any female's mind in the Caribbean. And having that opportunity to be able to give back in that way and mentor others through my experiences has really been a turning point for me, because I don't only offer organic wellness to customers. I actually have a team of women that I empower. So I'm in 15 countries across the region. I have women in each and every one of those countries who is the CEO of Women's Haven,
Right.
who I have given the rights to my brand name, and they own everything outright in their countries, and they make 100% of all their earnings, they make 100% of all their profits. I don't dwell in their being, like they are the face of Women's Haven. So I'm empowering them in a way where it's beyond just offering products or offering, wellness for our customers. It's helping them also build a legacy for themselves, their families, because it's hard to build a business in the Caribbean. Like, and much less to join someone that you can trust. Okay, I don't know any of these women. They're all just people I don't even know. So can you imagine going through, like, risking your life, your brand with random people you don't even know? But it's all about empowerment for Women's Haven, for us, and being able to mentor them. Many of them, when they started off, they didn't even have business licenses. They didn't understand how to run a business. They just saw an opportunity. They saw Women's Haven. They saw me educating about these stuff and reached out to me, because I'm all about alignment.
Yeah.
I don't chase, I attract. So I don't put my feelers out there, and whatever's meant for me, going to be mine. And that's literally how I've grown my entire business. I have not put in an application, reached out to nobody, nothing like that. Literally, they all have come to me to say, I want to be a part of this. Like, how can I bring this to my country? And that's literally how we have grown to where we are today. So it's more than just being out there and pushing a brand and trying to make a bunch of money. It's beyond all of that for Women's Haven. Even the whole gift to gain point for me is like, I have a little niche with that, because we are women on Women's Month. You want us to continue giving. We've been giving all the time. How about you give to us? How about you give us to gain from what we have been able to do for you all in the world, from every aspect, talking about the availability of breastfeeding rooms. And to me, I'm an advocate of period care products. That should be in every bathroom. Every corporate office should be talking about that. You have gift to gain paraphernalia all over the place. I'm sure if men has periods, there'll be a corporate little period kit with their logo and brand. For every corporate organization will have a branded period kit.
They would have a big hospital bed.
I am telling you, in your bathrooms, you would have your sanitary napkin dispensers. And men have urinals. I was talking about this today. They have urinals in their bathroom. Why do you need a urinal when we never have a toilet? What about a sanitary napkin dispenser for us? That's much cheaper than a urinal. Upfront cost is cheaper, maintenance cost is cheaper. We can't even get that. All they give us the baby changing thing in a toilet. They don't even have baby changing stuff in men's bathroom. What are you trying to say? They can't take care of children in their bathroom too?
That's right.
Like all these different things. So all that in nutshell of giving back and being able to empower other women, not through just helping with your feminine care and your wellness and your hygiene, but also empowering them in a sense where they're building businesses, they own businesses. Some of them are bigger than me, because Cayman just like
building.
Yeah, Cayman, that's 90,000, 80,000 people. Some of them got hundreds of thousands of people in their countries, way more than me. Some of them are bigger than me. So it's not about trying to make a lot of money. It's not about just trying to do a business just to do something. It's the foundation of Women's Haven. It's born out of authenticity, like purity. Like, it's nothing about just trying to make a quick buck. We are literally the cheapest organic brand on shelves across the entire region.
Wow.
And it's because we outright own everything upfront. I have no middleman. We own, and we embrace that for Women's Haven, and something that I find
manufactured to consumer.
Yes, exactly. I'm everything. So, and something that we notice in the Caribbean as well is that we tend to get a lot of second grade products. We always are last to get whatever come out. We gotta wait months for it to come out. And my premise at Women's Haven was to make the Caribbean finally have something first. Like, we finally have the first organic feminine care brand of its kind. People in the US want it, UK want it, all over the place want it. It's here first. We've actually been the first to have access to something good for a change. Just trying to change the whole narrative of how we see ourselves in the Caribbean, like so small island. We can't do that. We can do amazing, amazing things if we work together and empower each other, because Women's Haven would not have made it back to the empowerment and the mentoring is that no person stands alone as an island. Like nobody in this entire world has made it by themselves.
Yeah.
They need someone to be there with them. And that's my premise. Oh,
No, you can finish and then Miss
yeah,
Wendy.
go ahead.
Just
Go ahead.
to Miss Wendy.
Fine.
Oh, thank you then for
Thank you.
sharing.
Yeah.
Over to you, Miss Wendy. You had your hand up. You wanted to say something?
Yeah, just first I want to just congratulate Mrs. Ardley on her business. I believe that I have purchased her products and I've actually gave them away for Christmas because Mrs. Ardley, are they the little ones in the pink pouch and it comes with a little personal bag? Is that yours?
Yeah.
Yes, that is. But
That's
there's
right.
another
I
one
gave
for
them
the
away
people.
as stocking stuffers for Christmas. I can tell you they're perfect. The little bags are reusable. I would recommend them to anyone and everyone, even if it's men, make them have it for their wives, their daughters, but it's a great product. Honestly, I've spent money on those products just got them in the drawer because I don't need them anymore. I just wanted little bags. Really, really nice. And then second of all, where I'm at currently in the UK attending the College of Policing here, in every bathroom, every female bathroom, I've gone to another one, they have they have sanitary napkins and personal feminine wipes in every bathroom. And this is not just a small college like UCCI or ICCI. No. This is like a real university, many acres, several buildings, and bathrooms are just outfitted with feminine care. Yeah. So I just wanted to add that. Thank you.
And I think that is so true because I live a little maybe oversharing, but we women have incidents.
Yes,
We have real incidents.
Oh, yeah, it just
They can
happens.
happen outside of your cycle.
Yeah.
So what it means to a woman and your dignity.
Yes.
To be able to run to the
To know you have the
bathroom
access to
and
it.
have access.
Yeah.
That is a real thing. And let me tell you, people who are experiencing poverty, that is one of the things that they don't have access to. So when we give, we must also give sanitary products to women who are experiencing poverty in our food banks and everywhere, because that is one of the things that they do not have access to, and it creates a whole other level of hardship.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is so true.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. I am all for that. Pure poverty is something that's near and dear to my heart in various different ways, because pure poverty to me is twofold. It's the not having access to products in general and not having access to actual safe products. Because it's 1 minute to give someone a sanitary napkin because they don't have anything. But one of the long-term effects it's going to have is like someone saying they're hungry, you're giving them candy versus good food, or some junk Burger King or Wendy's versus some real food. Because the constant exposure to toxic feminine care products leads to other adverse issues. And if you look at the stats, the regions where there's period poverty, you would see a lot of adverse feminine health issues arising because of the overexposure of this. A study was just done with the University of the Free State in South Africa, where they tested 15 different sanitary napkin pad brands, and they all tested positive for endocrine disruptors.
Wow.
So can you imagine exposing yourself to that for decades and you think that you're going to be fine? And lots of people end up ill and die, and they seem healthy. They exercise, how you get cancer, how you get these stuff, and you always wonder, what happened? They were just things that we've been consuming, lotions, down there is very absorbent.
Perfume.
Yeah.
Very, very absorbent part of our body.
Bleach, all them.
All those things can affect us. So looking at it holistically for women, like offering not only organic products, not only feminine care products, but organic, safe ones.
Yeah.
I always tell people, like, it's not about trying to style women's haven organic brand. If you have another organic brand that you find that's legit, use it.
Yeah.
Take care of yourself. You will feel better. But if you don't, Women's Haven is an option. I can attach to Women's Haven. I can give you all the reports. I can tell you about that. But if there's something else, just use an organic brand. It really can change your life.
Thank you for sharing, and that is amazing hearing, yeah, because I didn't even realize that this study and.
Yes, it's
So
real.
that's
The
good
reports
to know.
are there.
Yeah.
All your research is really.
So I'm going to throw this on the floor, and I know you've shared, so what I'm going to ask, so I'm going to open it up to others. At what point in your journey did you realize that your actions were creating opportunity for others? You share with someone else, be able to share.
Yeah, sure. Truth be told, it was when I posted on LinkedIn that I had gotten the CEO position. I mean, I looked at, sometimes you look at your stats and you study stats and whatnot, and prior engagements were like maybe 200-300 people. It wasn't really out there. I post something now, and that was probably over a good couple week period. I post something now, and within 3-4 days, I'm at a couple thousand hits. And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. When did that happen? How do people even know who I am? Like, I didn't realize how quickly you can go from here to here.
Yeah.
And I think that was where the moment really hit for me. Like, oh, wow, this really is a big deal. It's a big deal. Yeah.
I would say for me, I'm a daughter of a teacher. And although I officially didn't go into teaching, I do believe that I have a teaching spirit in me. So I think from the time I started working, I think from when I was like 11 years old, I was always kind of like the mother hen or something. But in the workplace, I have always mentored. I have always taught. And my last station in government, being the court administrator, I had over 100 staff. And I saw when I went there that people were afraid to grow, that I couldn't promote from within. And it was largely Caymanian staff, and I was really, really concerned about that. And so I decided that I will have to start from scratch, and I would just take them, you eat an elephant one bite at a time.
Yes.
And pushing people to do what they're not comfortable with. So you get a lot of pushback and backlash, and I was prepared for it. But I think it was like 3 years after I had started, and I started seeing people putting their names forward for positions, or they would come to me and say, Mrs. Baldwin, I'm thinking about this. And I told them point blank, when I met with all of them, I'm like, listen, you want to be promoted, you need to go get an education. You need to do some courses. I said, this whole thing about this, the promotion is just happening to show me that you want it. And I said, I'm here to help you. And I've had some staff who I would pay for every other, I wanted to have skin in the game. So one of them, they wanted to do accounting. And so for like 4 years, I paid for every other course that they had to do. And they finally got their accounting degree. And they were able to go and become a more senior staff member and got stints to the Auditor General's office and so forth. So just for me, it's like you have something that you grow and you let it into the universe, because I want for them to self-actualize and then for them to also carry it forward. And I think I'm seeing the small fruits of my labor. And I hope that over the next 20, 30 years, that it will impact them positively and also their own families and other people that they support. Because, we are still a small community,
Yes.
right? And not everybody has the same experience, but be able to provide that for them in the workplace, I thought was my responsibility. I couldn't do that job and just see people stuck. I couldn't do it. I had to see them become their best version of themselves, whether they wanted to or not. Yeah.
That's beautiful hearing that.
So,
That's like,
Real boss,
that's a gem
but,
hearing that.
I'm a little bossy.
I want to ask to this at Miss Leanne as well, because being a pilot, and I know we have a lot of young ladies, and I know you have your podcast. Do you put things out there? Do you get a lot of hits? People asking you, especially ladies, how do I do this?
Yeah.
You want to talk about
A lot.
Yeah,
It's not just women, it's actually with a lot of young men reaching out because they're like, how do I be a pilot? I want to be a pilot. And like at that point too, I became a pilot at the same time I won Miss World. So it was a big thing. And I went from like how you said, like, yeah, a little Leonie morphing around to all of a sudden everybody wants to pay attention. I'm like, I'm weird. I'm not that hype, like, you don't know me, but it was beautiful because I got to pour into them. And that's something that I really enjoy. And what I will say too, and this isn't just for women, this is for anybody listening, you don't know the impact you're creating. Like, full stop, somebody's watching you.
Yeah.
Whether that's in a positive light or a negative light.
Yeah.
You have impact no matter where you go. It's just mine happened to be a large scale, which made it very intimidating. I didn't want to straighten my hair. That was a big thing. Like, oh, you have to change up your look. I'm like, well, some little young lady looking at me saying, well, if her hair curling, my hair gonna be curly too. I wasn't stick thin. That was a big thing for me because I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so skinny. But I'm a Caribbean woman and I embraced that. So it really changed all of that for the young women who were looking up to me. It's like, oh, she's doing that and she's flying full time. Like, okay, we don't have to be, as you said, we don't have to fit into these boxes. And then not only that too, but a big thing for me was, like I'm a woman of faith. I believe strongly in Jesus and I proclaim that everywhere that I go. And I gave him the glory. And that's something that I don't know if it's like everywhere that I went, because I spoke boldly, it was almost like weird. It was like, whoa, in a beautiful way, because I don't know, people had kind of stopped doing it at the time. So, I mean, I was just my authentic self. That's what I could say. So whoever it is, no matter what you're doing, consider that somebody is watching you. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Yeah. That's for you to determine and course correct. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, that is so true. Thanks for sharing that.
Mm.
As long as they're not stalking you, Ms. Tibbetts, as long as they're not stalking.
So, Mr. Wade, throwing this at you, what does success look like for you now? So beyond the rank and achievement.
Would you believe if I say to you that my success are actually my children, or is actually my children? My success.
Absolutely.
So it has nothing to do with rank. It has nothing to do with the role. It has nothing to do with me being a police officer. But my success is that I have given birth to 3 children who are themselves making an impact on these islands as being good native men and women of this soil. They're able to give back to this country that when I leave, I know that I've left a beautiful young woman and 2 wonderful young men who will contribute to the society of the Cayman Islands, making it a better place. That's my success.
That's right.
Yeah, that is so true. And I know probably looking at your younger version, I don't know, would you say the same thing? Because you said you made sacrifices back then, leaving your family, Christmas. So back then when you were a younger version, because we may have some persons on that are young and your success would be your work and moving up. as
I mean,
well.
the work, of course, the work, but to me, it's greater than just the work. It's
Yeah.
it's those three children. They're young men and women now, but they're my three children who suffered along the way. But then they did not let that dictate to what they were going to become, because I was lucky. I'm one of the luckiest single parents that have had children who didn't go the opposite direction. And I am in law enforcement. My children could have easily went in a different direction. So I am very fortunate. That's why I say the success that I have earned is that my kids have turned out very well and they're doing good for themselves. What I have worked for in life had to come to fruition because I committed myself completely to the organization of RCIPS and to the communities of the Cayman Islands. So one way or the other, whether I remained as a constable or I had gone to the level of being a superintendent where I'm at, that's neither here nor there, because my success was that I gave to the communities. I committed myself to making the organization a better place to be. I help open doors for other women that are within the workplace. I mentor and I coach people, of women and men. I'm a great leader, not a fantastic boss, maybe because people have different views and opinions of me. But that's because I don't, like Tina said, I don't sugarcoat anything. I speak my mind, and I'm learning because I'm at this college that I can just kind of lower the tune and be nice and be more polite and be understanding and open that safe space, that psychological safe space. So now when I come back, I gotta work on that. There are some things I gotta work on. But I have to also say that there have been some wonderful people that I've worked with who have been my cheerleaders, who have embraced me as I am, and who has given me the support that I need. And particularly, I just want to give a shout out to my portfolio. I have my own portfolio. I want to say a big thank you for being the staff that you are. And I also want to say a big thank you as well to the silent supporters, because your silent supporters are the people who are going to pray for you. And they're going to be the people who will give you the well wishes. But remember, not everybody that smile and show their teeth at you are truly your friends. Just remember that. All right. But
I was waiting for someone to say that, right? Because not everyone that is clapping with you or are for you
No.
are happy that we're your success. So I was
No.
waiting because I didn't hear any of that, which is good. I mean, we're not going negative, but it's real. It does happen. So thanks for that.
all you have to do when you find people like that is you smile because now you understand who they are, and don't get in any confrontation with them. And I wish that someone was telling me that some years ago. Find a route around all of that, because you're better than that. You don't have to stay and have an argument with people when you know you're right. Just walk away. Just be silent. Just walk away. And that's the most, because what you do there, you show them that you're the bigger person and you hold in your power. Don't give your power to anybody.
Yes. Thank you for sharing that. I want to just throw this out on the floor to each person and hear your thoughts on this. So, what keeps you grounded outside of your professional life? Because you're working constantly. I know we tend to say work-life balance, but is there really such a thing? No, exactly. There's nothing. You just have to balance.
Find your balance.
I would like to add to this.
Yeah. So,
With age, I think comes wisdom, right? Like Liani says, and Wendy, your faith is first. From this time I was young, I used to ask God, why am I here, God? Why have you put me here? What am I here for? What do you want me to do? And for a long time in my youth, I knew. And then I got busy with life and I forgot. and I felt a little bit lost. And that is why I said before, pause and reinvest back in yourself. Figure out the connections that you have let wither and that you need to feed.
Yes.
So I would say my faith, my family have always been my biggest champions, right? They give you the reality check that you need sometimes. They groom you and they teach you, and then they send you out to be independent and to make mistakes, because sometimes you can only learn by doing.
Yes,
Right? If you have a parent who's always protecting you from everything, then you're not living in reality. Right? And thirdly, my community, and I'm talking the widest. You know, Cayman is my home. And for my entire life, there have been people who have wished me well, who expect plenty of me that I know I could not point, right? And in working in government, I did that. I never applied for any job in the private sector because I knew my mother was a civil servant her whole life. And when I went to do an internship at the Attorney General's chamber, I knew that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to go into public service. And then as I got older, I realized that I can still give public service in a different way. So I think we are also always part of a community. Somebody said we are no island. Was it you?
Yeah.
We are not an island. Human beings are social animals.
yes.
So find your community and make it wide. And fill it with the things that bring you joy. The other day I was like, oh, I want to play mahjong. I didn't know anything about mahjong. You know what I did? I put a thing out and keep women in Cayman on Facebook. Something I would never do. But I have a mahjong group going, and once a month we meet up, and they're actually Caymanian women. Most of them, some of them are not. But we have the wildest time, and you're feeding relationships, friendships. Let me tell you something. Women thrive on friendships, and everything gets in your life, and you forget your friends, or you lose the relationships because you're working too hard, you're raising children, you're this. But as we enter into older life, as we go into 50s and 60s, you need to build that network. Because when you're phasing out of work, you need to be able to fill it. And you can't fill it when you don't have nothing to do. So if you're working now, fill it. You told there's no work-life balance, make work-life balance.
Yeah, you make
Fill
your
it with
balance.
things in addition to work. Work is not everything. Work is very important. That's what Wendy said. But fill it with other things. Fill it with your faith. Fill it with your friends. Fill it with your family. And do things that make you happy. Don't live your life where you feel that, oh, I wish I had done this. Or who sits in the 1 hour left to live and say, oh, that work was great. Right? It is relationships, right? Feed your relationships.
That's so true.
Yeah.
Thank you. I wanted to throw this at you because being a CEO is not because you are
Hard.
yes, that's quite a hard a task that demands a lot of you, your time. So I want to throw this at you, and then I'll get to
Keeping me
that.
grounded and motivated. I mean, like Suzanne said, you have to find where your balance is and fill it with things that you enjoy. I've always enjoyed community service, so going into Rotary was kind of a natural fit for me, and that's where I get to give what I can to the wider community. Yeah, and it also helped me build a group of some of my closest friends. So it's not just about, what you want to do, it's who you want to spend that time with. And really what keeps me motivated is my baby. It's honestly she is everything to me. And I guess it's how I want her to see me and see that mommy can do things that are difficult and I can get through it. And it's how I want her to be able to emulate that thought process so that she understands that, you know what, it's okay that we go through difficult things. It's okay that we get busy sometimes. It's okay that, work-life balance sometimes doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And that's okay. It's how you come out the other side. it's, you know, the strength that you gain through the process. It's the time that you then get to spend and that quality time. I think that's also helped me to really be able to take the time that I get with her and make it count.
Right.
It's given me a lot more quality out of the time that I get with her. And so that for me is what really does keep me grounded and keep me motivated through kind of all the chaos and you know.
Yeah. We have someone that wanted to ask some questions. We want to, oh, sorry. So we're going to open the floor at this time. I do apologize. I wanted everyone to have discussed that, but time is going. So we're just going to open the floor at this time to our viewers. If you had any questions for the panelists, this is your opportunity to do so.
We have one question so far, actually, for Ms. Milicia. In your opinion, what role should governments and schools in the Caribbean play in improving menstrual health, education, and accessibility to sanitary products?
Touching my little heart, you know, with these questions. You know, I mean, honestly speaking, government and private sector has its role in the economy. You can't expect the government to answer all, do everything for you. While some citizens of the countries think the government must be the be all end all answer for everything, it cannot always be. Let's just be realistic. Nevertheless, menstrual health, as we've been talking about, is very important to the lives of women. And I feel that the government could assist in, on a general scale, every country around the world. Scotland's doing it, other countries is doing it, just the education about menstrual hygiene, the safety of menstrual health. The minimum, I think that should be something that should be included in schools and corporate settings. As I mentioned before, it's always a taboo. Why is there's never anything being talked about regarding periods, menstrual health, your hormones, your cycle, nothing like that. I think it definitely needs to be some change in regards to that. As the private sector and as a private owned business, I am doing my part by making sure that I offer education. That's the foundation of Women's Haven, is education. Beyond sales, beyond anything, is educating. And I'm doing my part in doing that, offering my services. I've given out over 500,000 individual sanitary napkins and liners as a donation across the entire region and diaspora. So I am doing my part to do that. Thankfully, I am happy to say that I also work with the government of St. Kitts and Nevis, where I work with the Department of Gender Affairs, through the Ministry of Gender Affairs there. And they actually supply the Women's Haven products to schools in Nevis there for free. So that's a part of my movement. It may not be in Cayman, but at least it's happening.
Yeah.
But I think those are steps that government should take at some extent.
I ask you, why is it not in Cayman yet?
I mean, that's a very good question. You know, sometimes you got to do things outside before you can.
Profit in your
Mark 6:4, and I live by that. And you know, that's how it is sometimes. But you know, it is what it is. But if the government is currently spending funding on products in school settings, why not support a local brand and an organic local brand if you already have that expense already there, right? So I would encourage governments to think about that, but I definitely think they do have a role to play in ensuring that menstrual hygiene, access to safe, organic family care products should be a priority.
Thank you for that.
Thank you, Ms. Milicia. We have another question, it doesn't seem to be targeted to anyone in particular. It's from Ms. Lucille Seymour. She signed it for us. What is your view on women and politics? And what would you suggest to have more women in politics? I think she needs, and would you suggest to have more women in politics? So what are your views, and would you suggest that more of us should be there?
Absolutely.
Definitely think.
If you think about, we have to ask ourselves, what percentage of women make up our population? Right? And then you have to ask yourself the second question, why are we so severely unrepresented? How is if our voices are not at the level of parliament, then how are women's issues supposed to trickle down into the society?
Exactly.
Right? So to me, that's my view on the matter. And I think, how do we get women in politics? That's the hard
That's
question. It's a nasty game, and women think that there's so many barriers. Like, they don't want to be in that free.
Right.
And again, the question about women supporting women is a live issue. And people telling us where we should be, which is not necessarily where necessarily we should be, and that why do you want to do that for? I'm sure a lot of women don't actually say, yes, I'm going to vote for you. They don't, why would you want to do that?
Yeah.
So we have to be like Medicia and don't give a damn, just do it.
Yeah.
And like when right? That's what we have to do.
We gotta build.
I'd like to, sorry, ladies, excuse me. Miss Lucille know that I can't answer that question.
Yes. And I must say that's part of the reason I came out of the civil service, because I have things to say. And the higher up you are in government, the less you're able to say. So I said, you know what, I gave my time has come to an end. Let me come out and say the things that need to be said. And on behalf of my fellow women in the civil service. Right, Wendy?
So we might have a politician in our
I don't know about that. That's at the top. I go on the radio and say when I saw the thing, like,
You know what? I think that is a characteristic of women, not to say that we're argumentative, but we like debate. We enjoy it because we have a lot to say. And I think our mouths have been taped shut for so long that now that we have this opportunity, why not use it? Why are we so afraid to get into politics? I mean, like you said, there's a lot of stumbling blocks. But at the end of the day, I think that we as Caymanian women, as women that live on the island, whether you're immigrating, whatever the case may be, we have a lot to say. And there's a lot of things that impact us that men are dictating.
We need representation.
And we need representation. We need to stand up. We need to get out there and actually say what needs to be said.
Yes.
And do it with the voice of power, the voice of reason, the voice of vision.
Yes,
And
totally.
really just, like Wendy said, kick in the door. Like you're very afraid of.
Exactly. And when I wanted to think about that too, correlation that I remember when I was doing my research, I first started Women's Haven, we were actually paying duties on a pot to family care products and all
I
that.
was duty free.
Now it's
I was behind, like it was me that brought the attention to a politician. I said, do you know that we are paid? They were like, what? I'm like, how could you not know?
Yeah.
They were completely shocked to know that we were paying duties. And they're in there, but they're men, they don't understand, and you know how it is and how
And
whatever.
even the women, I mean, I have to say that there have been instances where I did not feel or did not believe, I would say, that women in politics were representing adequately and sufficiently.
I disagree.
Women's issues.
Yeah.
So, somehow we can't, people, they say feminism is a bad word. It's not a bad word. We have, until we are equal, we have a responsibility to advocate for women and children. Okay?
Yes.
Because whilst we will get empathy and sympathy and maybe help from our male counterparts, they are not women.
Right.
And they don't entirely understand what it means to be a woman living in a society. Right. And so therefore, those who are there, I want to see them represent women's views. And I am very, very concerned, particularly in Cayman, about young women who are single mothers. Because unlike when I was growing up, I had my grandparents who would help with caregiving. Now grandparents are working.
Yes.
They're working. So if you are a single mother and your parents are working and they can't help you, then what is the safety net in our society?
And it's not even just single mothers.
And
It's families.
Young families in general. And I think that goes back
But
to
particularly this thing, because as an employer, I saw it. I had this.
very
I had staff in the office working, and I would go downstairs to go to my car to go home and see the helper outside with them slapping mosquitoes. And I'm like, why are you, and then that's like, I don't know what's going on. Oh, well, I don't have anyone to leave them with. And the poor helper can't come off of work. and then the children not eat dinner yet. And I said, I can't feed your kids, but I said, you have my permission to bring them up into the conference room. We have a TV there, let them watch it, we have the snacks. So we have to be self-aware as employers about each of our staff's circumstances and remember that they are people.
Yes.
And if there's anything I would leave as a former employer, it would be that we have to be compassionate.
Yes.
Right? We have to be compassionate.
I agree.
Yeah.
One of the
Totally
things that I
that.
always say is lead with empathy.
Yes,
Yes.
lead with empathy.
Lead with
That's
empathy.
right.
We don't see too much of
We
that.
are all human beings. We all have our own individual needs. And I think that's just, you have to be able to give that empathy to every one of your staff, male or female,
Yeah.
so that they know that, you know what, I am taken care of, I am looked after, they do care. Because at the end of the day, you're not just a workforce.
No.
You know, like, you can't just pump out all this stuff out of me
And
and
I
expect
tell you,
that I'm gonna
since
get
Since
anywhere.
I've left, I have most of my staff still call me. They still talk to
Because you
me.
were the good.
But one thing that I will say is that what I've observed, because having been under both female and male leadership, women have a real superpower to lead with empathy.
Yes.
And that makes a world of difference. Like hands down, the best leaders that I've had have always been women for that sole purpose, because they care about their staff, they care about the people they serve, they care.
Human.
Yeah. It's not about this gotta be done, that gotta be done. It's like, no, let's look at who we're serving here. Let's look at you. How you doing?
Yeah.
Okay, you good now? You can work now? All right, cool.
Because at the end of the day, if that person is not happy mentally, physically,
won't produce-
emotionally,
They will
they're not going to be of use to you.
Exactly.
So being in a company, you know, you look at your staff and you're like, hey, are you good today? If you need a day, if you're not going to be productive, then what's the point of you being here? You know, go home. Take the time that you need mentally, physically, emotionally to get where you can be productive.
I had a senior leader one time actually, what did I do? She couldn't understand what I did. And I didn't answer because I'm like, you don't know what I'm doing, that's on you. Because you don't hear complaints channeling up, right? You don't complain to me that work isn't being done, right? And I've left, you know, I'm no longer in that location. And sometimes it's chaos. And I'm like, you know, culture is culture. Culture is what allows things to happen good. And that doesn't happen overnight. You can take forever to grow it, and you can take a single night to destroy it, you know? And I will close with that.
Well, I think that is our time now as well. And I just want to take the time to thank these lovely gems for taking time out of their busy schedule to share with us, our viewers online, they're at home, and to hear some really insightful empowerment. Also to hear what they have went through, their challenges to reach where they are today, but know that you be determined, disciplined, do not give up. That's all I can hear from everyone. That don't
know
give up.
your worth.
And your worth and value.
Know your power.
Yeah, that's right.
Know
Yeah.
your power.
Yeah, go for that job, you didn't want to know 20% of it.
Yes.
My regular speaking engagements, I usually end off my speaking engagements talking and with a quote that leave women with a message.
Okay.
I'll let you do the same
Thank
for
you.
this opportunity, and we can close off. So I like to tell women, to every woman with a dream, just keep going. The blueprint is believing in yourself. And the cheat code is discipline and consistency. Success is built on habits and not luck. If you're worried about the cost of going for it, just consider the price of staying exactly where you are. Good. And your mindset is the software that upgrades your life. So it runs your life, so upgrade it accordingly.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Thank
sharing.
so much.
I'd just
All
like to say before we close, a big thank you for the invite. And it was
Yes.
really nice to share this platform with these wonderful, well-educated, smart women, ambitious women, leaders, future leaders of tomorrow for the Cayman Islands. I just want to say a big thank you. I love you girls, women. And sorry I wasn't there in person. It is now 1 o'clock over here.
Oh
And I have I do have class in the morning. But I want to just say it was a wonderful experience to share this space with you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Wendy. All the best.
All the best. Stay safe. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Everybody,
All
thank
right,
you.
thank you.
Thank you so much.
It's wonderful.
I
Lots of
know.
great
Appreciate
feedback,
it.
no more questions, but lots of props and comments. Thank you, ladies. Miss Lucille Seymour left us with a couple of quotes as well. She said, as Hillary Clinton said, when women vote for women, women win. And another person said, when that women hold up half the sky.
Yeah.
So that's something for us to all, mull over.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. We're happy to do
Yeah,
it.
we're half of it.
So, the thing is that sometimes women, we can be more harsh on our own.
Yeah.
Because we know that we cannot be equal, we have to be more than equal.